Hello, America. It's us, me, Barry Nussbaum, the founder of American Truth Project and other stuff, along with my brother from another mother, Will Johnson, the everything guy at Unite America First. Hello, Will. Happy
What's going
Thursday.
on, Barry?
It's just
Happy
a
Thursday.
month and a couple weeks till, well, January 20th. Cha-ching. The world will
Yes.
change. And the
Yes, it's
Senate and
gonna
the Senate
be
will change in a month.
yeah, it's gonna be very eventful. Now I just saw someone a post saying that they're gonna verify the electoral college the 16th of December.
hmm Yeah,
Oh,
there's 3 steps, but that's the first step. So,
yeah.
it's looking good. Peaceful transfer of power on the way, and
Is it? Is it?
well, they said they would do it.
Well,
I
Joe
mean,
Biden said that he would never pardon Hunter too.
yeah, but you've got backup. Kamala made a speech, peaceful transfer of power, and then fight, fight, fight. She copied Donald Trump. What can I say?
Yeah.
Um, so speaking of Donald Trump, Jack Smith, the probably illegally appointed prosecutor in the federal case that's going on now in the Florida region of the court, has completely retreated from all prosecutions of Trump. He is closing his January 6th case against Trump um, because he said that it seems there's presidential immunity, which is what Trump has been saying all along. Now that he's been reelected, Jack Smith says, time to drop the case. This is Jack Smith. Um, he his request went to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Uh, they are Judge Cannon already dismissed the case, and bottom line is that Smith had asked the 11th Circuit, the appeals court, to overrule the local judge, Judge Cannon's ruling that he was unlawfully appointed by the Attorney General. In other words, there was a defect in his hiring. The court said he was not even a legal judge. So at this point, not only is there an illegal judge, but the case has been thrown out. So there's a whole lot of questions as to whether or not the case can come back after Trump is done being president. Um, but at that point, why have lawfare? Because the whole purpose of all this was to prevent him from being president, and all the cases failed.
100%. You know what? I actually had a conversation with a young man. His name is Steve Stockman. He used to be a congressman. He served 2 times in the House of Representatives, and he actually ended up going to prison because of Jack Smith. Jack Smith went after him because he brought up, I think, he brought up the paperwork to impeach Obama. And when he did that, the paperwork to impeach Obama, they got Jack Smith to find a reason to put him in prison, and they wrongfully put him in prison. And Jack Smith apparently has been putting people in prison for a while now. I think that's why they felt so emboldened that they can go after President Trump and he would get Trump. And Jack Smith was never appointed, like you mentioned.
Well,
Joe Biden,
they didn't go through the process that they were supposed to
exactly.
confirm him. Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Biden didn't even appoint him. The Senate didn't even confirm him, but yet he was put in a position where he had authority to raid President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. I'm suspecting that Jack Smith is going to get a pardon as well.
Well, geez, I don't even know if we should start that now. Supposedly the list of applications to, hey, give me a get out of jail free card just like you gave your son. Your boy got one. I should too. The list is growing, and they're
Yeah.
talking now about Democrats like the new senator from California. Wants one for bringing
Yep.
false
Adam
charges.
Schiff,
Yeah, when he was a
Liz Cheney.
congressman. Yeah, and Cheney for January 6th allegations that were false. I mean, there could be a pile of pardons. And
Dr.
to
Evil
begin with,
Fauci.
oh God, if he that would be a bridge too far. And if that happened, my personal feeling is that Trump has to go after Biden because that would be ridiculous.
He's gonna.
That
He can. I think he can pardon himself too, right?
we think so. Yeah, it's never happened, but people think so.
I mean, why stop? Why stop with Hunter? I mean, and like you said, they're probably all filling out applications right now. Put it in there. And you know what? Really quick, Barry. I know we're gonna talk. We were gonna talk about this anyways, but uh, Chuck Schumer didn't know that Joe Biden was gonna do this. Nancy Pelosi didn't know that he was gonna pardon Hunter. They didn't know.
So it was just decided by him.
Yes, he did it. Because remember, he kept saying that he wasn't going to pardon Hunter. He's going to go along with the court system because,
Right.
you know, we're the law and order party, not the Republicans, not the bad Republicans. It's us. We're the law and order. We adhere to the law. We accept whatever the outcome is, you know, because they're talking about elections too. So Joe Biden did this. And then he, of course, you know, he hopped over to Africa to give Africa, these SO countries, $1 billion. And then the other list of people that came out, not by Joe Biden. These are lists that's coming out of his administration.
It's going to be crazy. At least that case is gone. Bye-bye, Jack Smith. In Israel, there's a lot of controversy coming up about Israel's invasion of Lebanon. Let me give us some quick background. There's a UN resolution 1701 from 30 years ago that required as a pretense for Israel and Lebanon to stop fighting then, that Hezbollah had to retreat north of the Litani River. That was supposed to be enforced by something called UNIFIL, United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon. They're called the interim force because it was supposed to be very temporary. All they were supposed to do was keep out Hezbollah. I've been there. I've been on the Lebanese border and seen the UNIFIL stations. I've been on the Syrian border, actually a little into the no man's land north of Israel and into Syria. UNIFIL is everywhere, and they do absolutely nothing. They watch Hezbollah. They watch Hezbollah dig the tunnels, Hezbollah to move in the rockets, Hezbollah to take over territory. They do absolutely nothing. And when a year of rockets rained down on Israel starting last October 8th, the day after the invasion, Israel had no choice but to invade after warning them for weeks. In Israel, they have a different kind of army. In the US and in most Western countries, the officers direct the troops and the troops go in. There's an expression in Hebrew that translates into English, which is follow me. And what that means is the commanding officers go out front, which is why so many of them get killed, because they're out front. There's no cannon fodder in the Israeli army. Here's a picture of Major General Ori Gordin at the Litani River, leading his men to that point for the purpose of securing Hezbollah on the other side of the river. And they're trying to create a buffer zone. There are lots of troops up there, and everywhere they're going, both the commando units and the ground troops, not to mention helicopters and gunships and jets, there are Hezbollah troops everywhere, and they are blowing up incredible amounts of Iranian-based weaponry. And I'm talking about long-range missiles, short-range missiles, grenade launchers, motorcycles for the invasion of northern Israel. They seized a whole lot of computers, Will, that said basically that the purpose of all of that mechanized transportation, whether it was cars, trucks, or motorcycles or mopeds, was to invade northern Israel. It's no secret that's what they intended to do. As a result, Israel didn't have a choice. And now there's a ceasefire. And Israel's still there, and Hezbollah hasn't pulled out yet. And the ceasefire is requiring Lebanon's army, which is mostly worthless, to take over the territory and keep Hezbollah out. Meanwhile, the UN condemned Israel again today.
No surprise.
Unbelievable.
There. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't know why anyone...
go there. You've got to go there someday and see that border. It's just a fence. It's all it is. And you can cross that fence in about 30 seconds.
Well, I would love to visit Israel. That's one of the top ones on my bucket list.
My very close contacts can take you there.
Well, soon as I can make that happen, I most definitely will let you know. And I'm Barry. I need to contact. I plan on going one day. I plan on going one day.
You'll be set up.
Let me say this really quick. I have a daughter, and my daughter, she's wanting to take a trip to a different country. And she said, well, I think the best time for me to go is when Trump is in office. And I said, why would you say that? She said, because these countries know not to mess with America when Trump is in office.
Smart young lady, Will. Smart young lady.
Wow. And right? That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah. Ain't nobody over there, and I mean this literally, and it's sad, but it's true. Ain't nobody over there afraid of Joe Biden or Kamala Harris.
No,
in fact,
no, not at all.
It's quite the opposite, right? It's quite the opposite, right? So, at this point, if your daughter can wait a couple weeks to buy her tickets, she should get on a plane, right?
Yeah. She says she's going to wait until he's in there. And once he's in there, then she says she's planning on going.
Wow. Well, we'll hook her up. No problem. We can get that done. I know you're in Texas, Will Johnson, and if anybody in the family wants an education, I got a great place to go. The University of Austin, Texas campus is mind over matter. And what they mean is they have free speech requirements that are pushing back against woke ideology on their campus. They have officially banned DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, from the University of Austin. And now they want it to be MEI, like you've talked about, merit, excellence, and intelligence, right? Here's the campus. Looks like a fairly nice place. Must be close to you. They talk about shaking up higher education. We don't take any of DEI into consideration in our admissions. He said, race, ethnicity, and gender has no place here. The primary thing we're interested in is the mind. YT, merit and excellence and intelligence, centers on qualifications and abilities, particularly emphasizing the capacity to think deeply. Geez, is this a real school? This is the way it used to be, right? They've eliminated all DEI positions. They don't have them at that school. And now universities like Alabama and Tuscaloosa, University of Florida, these other schools are doing the same thing. And they're copying the retail giants that fired all the DEI people like Ford Motor, John Deere, Toyota Motor Company, Lexus, Home Depot, and on and on and on and on and on. Unbelievable. And people come back. This is crazy stuff, man. And they are literally, not a joke, criticizing the University of Austin because they don't see the right percentages of color on the campus.
Oh my God.
Nobody talks about who's qualified, who can read and write, who wrote a good essay to get in. I mean, God, I spent 3 weeks on my admissions essay. I must have rewritten it 20 times. I wouldn't have known what to do if there was DEI when I went to school.
You know, DEI has been the destroyer of companies and schools. And the fact that we're seeing these schools now are pushing away from it. Imagine the students that they will produce now. Imagine the innovative technologies that will come out of these colleges now, because I remember growing up, that was one of the biggest things we could hear about. You know, these colleges getting a grant. If you're working on certain projects, you can get grants to work on them in the school, and it just, you know, you flourish your career that way. You get to write white papers about it, and then all that information gets to go with you and other companies. You become in high demand. That's the whole point. Look what's happening. That's the whole point. No more the DEI. Become someone that companies want. Look, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. It's almost like sports, you know, and a lot of people don't really talk about this. The same thing like football and basketball. When they go and talk to these athletes, they want to see, and they look, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. But what a lot of people don't realize, the same thing happens with people that's into math, that's in science, that's into innovative, you know, creativity. There's companies that's seeking these people out, and then if you're not DEI, university, college, and they see what you're doing, the white papers, the information, you become on high demand, and that's the way it should be.
Well, think about it. If you had Johnson Electronics, would you be prouder of your team of workers if you were making money, or prouder if they had the right percentages that matched the population? Certain amount of gay, certain amount of straight, certain amount of tall, certain amount of short, Native Americans, Indian Americans, Chinese Americans, Black Americans, blah, 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 blah. You wouldn't stay in business if you didn't care about profit, right?
No, absolutely. But
And
they want to
nobody's
make
gonna
it,
buy Johnson Electronic products because you put on the label,
yeah.
"We have 14% Black Americans, exactly the same as the American population."
And they look at it and like, we don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Does it
and
work or
even
not?
yeah, and even black people that's going to purchase the product, they don't care either. When I go, when someone, when a black person, a white person, it doesn't matter. If you go, when you go purchase the vehicle, you know, the only time the color comes into play, Barry.
What color's the car? Right? "Hey, you got
That's
this
the
in blue?"
only time.
Right,
No
yeah, "You
one
got it in
cares.
blue?" Right.
Yeah. No one cares how many black people worked on a vehicle to put it together. No one cares. No one, and no one should care getting on the airplane. If the
Well,
pilot is
you've said
black,
that so
what
many
color?
times.
Oh yeah,
You don't care who's in the cockpit as long as they take off and land safely, right?
yeah. That's all I care about. Can you go up in the air, keep us in the air when we're supposed to stay in the air, and bring us down safely? Even if we have problems, you bring us down safely. I don't care about your color, but you
I
know,
don't care. I just want competence, right? I
but you
want
know what?
merit.
Yeah, but you know, 100%. And these colleges, they're going to have to start doing it because these businesses are doing it. They realize that the bottom line, you know, it's about money. We're a capitalist nation. It is about making an income. And if these companies aren't making money, then they can't hire people to work. So it's not going to even matter if they can meet the quota or not because we don't have any money to hire you.
Bingo. Well, a couple minutes ago, I was talking to you about Resolution 1701 in the United Nations. I want to put it up and I want to talk about it. This is really important. Um, these are the key points of the resolution. There was supposed to be a ceasefire to stop hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah. That was breached by Hezbollah on October 8th, and it's been breached every single day with 10,000 rockets that have destroyed a large portion of northern Israel. So, point number one, violated by Hezbollah. Point number two, Israel withdrawal. Israel must draw all of its troops from southern Lebanon. Check. Israel did that. Number three, UNIFIL deployment. The UN interim force in Lebanon will be deployed alongside the Lebanese forces in the border area. Check. That happened. Next one, Hezbollah disarmament. Hezbollah and other armed groups in Lebanon must disarm. absolutely zero compliance. In fact, Hezbollah became one of the largest armies in the Middle East, 100% armed by Iran, and UN did nothing. Next, Lebanese sovereignty. Lebanon must exercise full sovereignty over its territory. That's a big fat zero. The Lebanese army ran away. Why? They were forced out by Hezbollah. So this resolution was passed during the 2006 Lebanon war, and it was supposed to bring long-term stability to southern Lebanon. What it did was, and you can ask anybody in the Israeli army, and I've asked a lot of people, or anybody in the Israeli government, and I've lost a lot of those people, they hate UNIFIL. Why? Because UNIFIL has done nothing to enforce 1701. And literally, there are tunnels right under the UNIFIL observation points where UNIFIL could see them dumping cement in and loading up the weapons and everything. And in some cases, the UNIFIL observers were observers for Hezbollah to warn them that there were drones flying over videotaping the tunnel making. Is there any wonder everybody in Israel wants to kick the UN out? I would.
I mean, absolutely. I want to kick the UN out of the United States of America. I don't want them in New York, let alone Israel. I don't know why they just don't go overseas to, like, to UK or with Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah, let them go where they've got the courts that nobody listens to, right?
Exactly. And stop draining us for money. Stop draining us and telling us how the world's supposed to operate and what they're trying to create, and we don't want any part of it. The United Nations, just like in the United States, United Nations is wanting to do away with the sovereignty of the United States of America the same way they want to do away with the sovereignty in Israel. They don't want Israel to be a nation, which is really mind-blowing to me. When I have conversations with people online, Barry, they all say the UN sides with Israel. And I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? I mean, the UN sides with Israel as much as Chuck Schumer does. They don't.
Fair statement. And that would be never and never. Thank you very much. Here's a wild story for you. I find this hard to believe. There are a lot of ladies, left-wing ladies, who have vowed, this is not a joke, this is really sad, I think, to get permanently sterilized to protest against President Trump being elected president.
What's sad about that?
Well, I guess you're happy because they're not going to make any more libtards, I guess. But
for humanity reasons, I get your point.
You can't change your mind. It's a one-way trip, Bubba. The parts come out. You can't put them back, right? And so they want, this is not a joke, they want to get fixed. It's like, it's like your puppy, I guess, so that they don't have children as a protest because Donald Trump was democratically elected by the majority of Americans in both the Electoral College and the popular vote. So Newsweek did a story on it, and that they feel that to protest abortion not being federal anymore. By the way, just to be clear, we've said this 1,000 times. Trump had nothing to do with abortion. All the courts ruled in Dobbs was it should be up to each state to decide so the voters can tell their legislatures what they want.
Sounds constitutional.
Sounds like democracy, where the people vote for or against something. So if the people in Alabama don't want an abortion being legal after, say, 3 months or 6 months, and they sure don't want it up to birth because they consider that murder. Well, if you're one of those that wants to murder your baby, go to New York. But these women are so mad, they're going to sterilize themselves to show Donald Trump that they are not going to support his policies. So here they are with their pink pussy hats on, organizing mass sterilization. I can't even believe they're doing this. There's a lady,
Very.
there's a quote from this one lady. I got to read this to you. Eden Ixoria of Florida, she's on OnlyFans. She said she's going to go through a bilateral salpingectomy because she said, quote, the idea of getting pregnant is worse than death. For me, it's a call to action. I need to get this locked in so I don't live in fear that any moment some random guy can completely destroy my life. For me, the idea of getting pregnant is worse than death. I'm doing what I can to protect my right to choose. I'm choosing me. Do any of these people know that you don't just get pregnant by bumping into some kind of random guy, as she calls it? There's certain procedures that have to take place. We don't have to get into it here. Maybe she can look it up. It's not like you bump somebody on the bus and now your life is ruined.
Yeah, you don't want to get into the birds and bees, I see. So, Barry, during the presidential election, President Trump, and he's already made it clear that he's not going to do a nationwide abortion ban. He's already made it clear. He said it multiple times, and for these leftists, it goes in one ear and out the other. He's made it clear, but they keep bringing up Project 2025. They keep telling themselves and convincing themselves that they're gonna. There's a TV show called The Handmaid's Tale or something like that.
Handmaid's Tale, yeah.
Handmaid's Tale. Okay, I never watched it. I heard it was really good, but I never watched it. But anyway, they said that President Trump is gonna have all the women live like that, right? Well, I'm not for abortion, and I think I have the right not to be for it. And they say that, well, if they want to be for it, they can be. And I think that they can be if they want to be for it. I'm not going to come to the door and tell them what they should support, what they shouldn't support. But what's really happening here is that they're upset because they said President Trump is going to do a nationwide ban, but he doesn't have to because they're already doing the ban for him. They're doing the ban. They have created this. They're actually doing what they said that he's going to do to them, but they're doing it to themselves. They're absolutely doing it to themselves. And how is this a movement? This is liberal logic 101. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna cut all of my hair off, and I'm gonna fix myself to where I can't get pregnant, and then that way you can't say anything to me. What? I mean, what are they thinking? They're not even thinking it through. And you know what? They do this with everything, Barry. They don't think about the consequences. It's pretty bizarre.
I find it insane. I'm going to punish you and all of your people by doing something to me. Right?
It's liberal logic 101.
Yeah, I'm going to mutilate my body. I'll show you.
Yeah.
You can't get me pregnant, you random guy.
Did I ever tell you the story when I was younger and I was outside and there was bees flying around everywhere? Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
I'll tell it really quick. When you were a kid, did you ever get a jar, poke holes in the lid and go around and catch bees? Or maybe at night catch the lightning bugs and put them in there?
Yeah, lightning bugs.
Yeah, kid stuff, Well, I remember, I'll never forget it. And it was like something that stuck with me all of these years. And I didn't really understand it until I started realizing the difference between liberals and sane people. Well, there was this kid, he got stung on his hand by a bee because, we're outside. He got stung on his hand by a bee. He's so mad. He doesn't have on any shoes. So what does he do? He sees another bee on a flower. He goes, steps on that bee. I'm going to show you. And guess what happens? The bee stings his foot. But I'm going to show you. So now we got a bee sting on his hand, one on his bottom of his foot, and he's still mad. Liberal logic 101. Then he goes steps on another bee with his other foot. And I'm sitting there watching this unfold. And then after the third after the third time getting stung, his mother finally picked him up. Liberal logic 101. It's the exact same thing. They don't get it. They don't grow. They don't advance. They stay stuck, and they have the opportunity of a lifetime to get into reality and realize that this issues, the things that they're pushing is not good for society. But they're so far gone. The TDS is so strong. They do by mutilating myself. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make a lick of sense.
As you said, Will, I think you and I should just shut up and get out of the way. Okay, well, you know best. I don't want to tell you what to do. It's your right at self-mutilation surgery. Free country. I think you just let them go, my friend. Just let them go, because
hey, there's a thing called freedom.
Yep, that's it. That's freedom. Now let me show you something that's not freedom. New York University and the New York City staff has had a lot of problems because their diversity people tend to be hate mongers, and they're racists and anti-Semites, a lot of them. In New York, Mayor Adams has made some great speeches about no anti-Semitism in the city, and we're going to cut down on crime, and we're going to hire all the staff to do the right thing. Well, one of his staffers that he hired personally to bridge cultural divides in the city, her name is Nala Sutherland, the special event coordinator for Mayor Eric Adams' Office of Special Projects and Community Events, was supposed to create bridges between the various citizens of New York. And in New York City, it's the largest Jewish population in the world outside of Israel. Let me show you what his special project bridge building appointee was filmed doing.
Those are hostages. They were taken by terrorists. Is there a reason you're taking them down? Just curious here. That's assault, actually. You know that, right? That's assault?
So that's Nala Sutherland, and that's her walking around the city, tearing down posters of hostages, some of whom are Americans, some of whom are not even alive anymore because they have been in cages underground. It was announced this morning that 6 more hostages were executed by Hamas in the tunnels. They were alive, and every one of them was found with bullet holes in them, close range with gunpowder, execution style. So that knocks off 6 more that won't come home alive. This woman is showing you the diversity in the mayor's office. She's pulling down posters of hostages being held in brutal, inhumane conditions, some of whom in cages for over a year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's over 500 days. That's insane.
That's crazy.
By the way, she's been suspended. Honestly, I can't believe it wasn't much, much worse. Mayor Adams has expressed a strong support for the state of Israel. His office has all the right things on the website. How does this person still have a job?
She might be there because of DEI, and they don't want to hire because of that, or fire her because of that.
She's the right color, and that's about it.
Probably for the most part. I mean, how many times have we had discussions about these professors and these people in high positions? They do something similar and they don't get fired. And a lot of it because of their color, because, oh my goodness, don't do anything, can't say anything, because they get an angry black woman. You don't want that. You don't want that. But it's pretty sad. It happens all the time, and they get away with it. And just a suspension, no, that she should be fired. I mean, seriously.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God,
she should be fired. I mean, because what is the lesson from that?
She hit the guy filming her.
Yes, assault. and she's already being hateful. But let me be clear about something too here. She's being hateful, and when she assaulted him, that's when she should have been fired. She should have been fired for
Agreed.
that. Now, pulling stuff down, I think you can't necessarily be fired for that. Now, there can be now that she could probably be suspended. And the reason why I say that, because I was in DC one time, and this is when President Trump was in office. And around the White House, they put up a fence around the White House because Trans-Tifa and BLM, they were trying to, do damage to the building. Well, they had poster boards all up. And one of the poster boards, Barry, said Black Trans Lives Matter. Right. And they had all the other poster boards and stuff like that. And I was trying to talk to this one black lady, black female, another black female, and she wouldn't talk to me. So I walked over by that sign. I said, how come you won't talk to them? I said, how come you talk to them, everybody else that was white, but you won't talk to me? And I said, because they're trying to tear down these signs. And I ripped the sign down. She was so angry with me. They went and called the police. The police came. I didn't run. I talked to them. And the police said, did you tear it down? And I said, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And they couldn't do anything because it was considered abandoned material. So in the sense of them tearing the...
Well, look, there's a difference, and let me tell you what the difference is. You weren't paid by the White House to be the spokesperson for Joe Biden to build bridges between different groups. That's for specific, paid, very expensive job, Will Johnson, is to get people to get along. So what's she doing? Flipping off the people she's supposed to be getting along with. That is grounds for dismissal, because she did it in an official capacity as the representative of the mayor of New York for conciliation between various ethnic groups. If she did it elsewhere, like Will Johnson tearing down an abandoned sign on the White House lawn, that's different. But she did.
I agree.
And by the way, you didn't slug anybody either.
No, but they did hit me afterwards.
Oh, well, okay. Sorry about that.
They were hitting me afterwards, and but I was like, isn't the fun of the game? But that I completely agree. She's in the position, like if you're in a government position, you're in a position where you're supposed to be bringing people together, capacity like that, and then you're tearing stuff up like that. She needs to be removed, because she's already exposing herself on what she wants to do with a certain group of people.
Agreed. Let me show you another guy that's supposed to do a certain job and ain't doing a very good job of his certain job. This fellow on the screen is Reverend Canon David Oxley. He's an Irish pastor, high-ranking. He runs Dublin St. Patrick's Cathedral, and he's the head Anglican cleric there. He said that the Jewish state is the same as the Third Reich, Germany's Third Reich, and it's run by Nazis, just like Nazi Germany was run by Nazis. He delivered a sermon in front of the mayor of Dublin, all the politicians, and the senior servicemen and women. And in this wonderful sermon of his, he said, this is a horrible blasphemy of the master race in action, referring to Israel. It takes different forms at different times and places, he said, but it's the same horrible idea that one group of people is intrinsically more valuable than the other. And once that is accepted, then the elimination of the others follows as a matter of course. And he goes on about Israel maintaining a policy of targeting schools, hospitals, and mosques. They're starving the Gazans to death. And he said, yeah, October 7th was bad and it was cruel, but what can you expect? Because they've been so abused. This is absolutely horrible. And when Jews in Dublin complained to the cathedral, they were told, we continue to pray for peace for all communities. We want war to end. Unbelievable. Now, keep in mind, the Irish government put out a letter of condolence when Abraham Raisi, the butcher of Tehran, died. He was president of Iran, who was responsible for tens of thousands of Iranians to get slaughtered. These Irish politicians sent a letter of condolence for the butcher of Tehran. The Iranian people were dancing in the streets and celebrating. He had slaughtered so many people. But to the Irish, they know better. Let's support the murderer. Is that incredible?
Yeah, you know, the sad thing is, Barry, we've heard so many stories like this. That's the sad part about it. You say, I've never seen him before. And
that's why I'm here, bringing you the truth, brother.
And he's a priest.
Oh yeah, he's the head of the Anglican Church in Ireland. He's the head of the Anglican Church in Ireland.
So I mean, I guess you know what, Satan has his priests as well. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Apparently
because anyone who actually believes in God, they're not going to have that type of hate in them. They're not going to. And the fact that he's saying it out loud,
incredible, isn't it?
It really is.
Absolutely incredible. I don't get how this is a man of God. To say
he's not.
That the Irish position is, and I know this sounds unbelievable when I say it out loud, that Israel is the same as Nazi Germany that killed 10 million, 12 million, 15 million people and was bent on ruling the world, right? This guy's still there, and he gives his sermons to the government of Ireland, who sits in his church. It's unbelievable that this guy is still there. I find it incomprehensible. I truly do.
I wonder if they even had a conversation with him saying, you know, this is not something that we agree with.
Can't tell.
They just like look the other way.
Can't tell. Because this is the same guy that sent condolences with the same people to Iran when the president was killed in the helicopter crash, when everybody was celebrating that was Irish because, I'm sorry, that was Iranian because he had slaughtered so many people. Unreal, isn't it? Absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely unreal. Hard to believe. To me, it's just shocking. Just shocking. And yet, we have to talk about it because that's our job.
And you know what, Barry? It's good that we're talking about it because he's saying what he's saying. Imagine the people he's influencing. See, that's where the real problem comes in. Because they say this stuff on purpose. The impressionable mind will take that information, receive that information, and they think they will become a hero by going after the people that he's deemed Nazis. I mean, come on.
I agree. Well, I saved it for later. We're there now. We got to talk about the biggest news in months. Hunter Biden is a free man, pardoned by dad for gun charges, tax evasion, and known and unknown charges from the last 10 years. An open blank get out of jail for whatever he might have done. Now, keep in mind the words of Joe Biden, which he said on a dozen occasions. Here's one of those clips.
To my son Hunter, he has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
What? What did he say? He's one of the smartest people he knows, and I will not pardon him. Did you hear that?
Yep. You know what I figured out? He wasn't lying to you.
Okay.
He wasn't lying to me. He was lying to his party. because they were all saying that they are the ones that have integrity. They're the ones sit on they're the ones with morals. Remember that you've heard this many times with them saying this. You've heard him say this, that the adults are back in the White House when he went in, that they will adhere to the law. They've said it so many times. That's
you remember the line? Nobody's above the law. I was
no
going to
one's
play that
above the
video.
law.
I've got a video. It's like 30 Democrats, and I mean,
Yes,
Schumer, Pelosi, Gavin
Hakeem
Newsom,
Joffrey,
yeah,
Jerry Nadler,
you're
Chuck
right, Hakeem Joffrey,
Schumer,
all
Elizabeth
of them,
Warren, AOC, the
the head
squad,
of the Democrats,
and CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, the entire Alphabet Network soup group. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, so answer me this, because I can't figure this out. This just changed American procedure forever.
Yes.
So now when a president leaves, right, in his last month or so, he makes up a list of everybody that effed up and ought to go to jail, right? And he just issues blanket pardons, like, get out of jail free card. Don't lose this. This is valuable. Yes. I'm pardoning you for everything you did to everybody over the last, I don't know, 30 years. So I don't even have to write down the crime. You don't have to be charged. You don't have to be indicted. If you did it, you're free. That's what Biden did. And I was going to say, even The View, but I back up. The only person I could find defending this, the only person, was Whoopi Goldberg. She defended it because circumstances changed.
Well, actually, there's a whole bunch of them defending it.
Really?
More and more. Oh, yeah. You have Unjoyful Reed on MSDNC. She's defending it. You have correspondents on CNN. They're defending it. They're saying, well, he was on drugs and this and that. But, you have Democrats, Barry, that are saying this is terrible. You know what this says? It was starting from 2014.
Oh, it's a 10-year. It's a 10-year pardon. Well,
actually, it's 11. It's 11 years. Why? Because it's going into next year, Barry. It's going into next year. So, New Year's is right around the corner. There's no telling what Hunter's going to be doing New Year's Eve. So Joe Biden.
Yeah, there's a lot of hookers and
my goodness,
sellers.
Yes, Barry. So he gave him a pardon.
Brother.
Yeah, he gave him a pardon for the past and the future. And there's a video, I don't know if you've seen it, where Chuck Schumer came out. They were asking Chuck Schumer to ask him questions about it. He said, "I have nothing for you."
Yeah, I saw that. They asked him 4 times. I watched the video. He was so.
I have nothing for you.
He looked so uncomfortable.
That's because they didn't know. Yeah, that's because they didn't know. 11 years, and just a blanket pardon for all the things that you don't know that he has done. He's pardoned. You can't go after him. And and like we talked about earlier, they suspect that he's going to pardon Adam Pencilneck Schiff, Dr. Evil Fauci, Warhawk Liz Cheney, and I went ahead and threw some other ones in there. You might as well go ahead and do Nancy Pelosi, insider trading. Go ahead and do Adam Kissinger, put him in there because of the J6. What they did with that was absolutely terrible. There's members of the FBI, Mayorkas. You have Christopher Wray. You have Merrick Garland, Jack Smith. There's a whole bunch of people right now that the people, watch them do criminal activity that they're probably going to get pardons. He's probably going to give one to Fani Willis. Give one to Alvin Bragg.
Is there any limit if Biden just goes crazy with his pen?
If I'm not mistaken, and don't hold me to it, when President Trump left office the first time, I think he ended up doing a pardon for up to like 1,600 people. But don't
Wow.
hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. And it was quite a few, and it's not anything out of the ordinary. I mean, presidents have done it throughout the history of this country because they have pardon power, and because they have that power, being the president at the top of the world, they've given that person the authority to do so. But in this case, they believe that Joe Biden is going to give it to people who haven't even been convicted of anything as of yet.
Well,
So
in the
when
case
they
of his
do,
son, there are charges that he hasn't even been charged with.
yes, so exactly. So Dr. Fauci, all of these people, before Trump goes into office, before he fixes this country, he can give a pardon to all of these people. It would not surprise me if he go ahead and give a pardon to Comey, give it to Hillary Clinton, go ahead and give it to Obama, even give it to himself, because Obama had to know about the FBI with the whole DOS. There's no way that the sitting president doesn't know that a candidate or even the elected candidate for the presidency is getting spied on. There's no way he didn't know. At some point, they did tell him, and maybe he went, okay, go ahead and do your thing. Just don't tell me about it. But at some point, he knew. Just like he knew about Burisma Oil.
Well, that's the main thing, according to what most people are saying, that he was trying to protect Hunter from, because he could have gone to jail forever and ever and ever for Burisma.
Yeah.
And then the question is, and you brought it up, does Biden pardon himself because he's the big guy in all of those recordings and text messages? Everybody knows he's the big guy. Am I right?
Oh, 100%. And let's not forget when
at some point that lasso gets thrown around, they're going to collect Joe Biden inside of it, right?
Yeah. And let's remember when Joe Biden went into the office on day one, he did an executive order to hide the SARS reports that's connected to Hunter Biden and himself. Why would he do that?
Because he knew.
Why would he do that?
He knew what was in him.
Yes.
That's why.
And why start the pardon at 2014?
That's when he got appointed to Burisma's board.
There's no coincidence. There's no coincidence at all there.
How about
Nothing
that?
to see here. Yeah.
How about
and
that?
then I know you've heard this story too. President Trump made a phone call to Zelensky asking information about that whole deal. They impeached President Trump over it, but then Hunter Biden gets pardoned for it. You can't make it up. You can't make it.
It's all true. It's true. I don't get it, but it's true. Oh my goodness gracious.
Two-tier justice system.
You think? There's one tier that ain't even connected to the other tier, as best as I can figure. I mean, it's literally on a different floor,
this is
so to speak.
Abuse of power like never seen before.
100%. Here's a wild one. There's a town in Ontario, Canada, right on the border of the United States. It's a very small town. Is that the
picture where President Trump holding the Canadian flag?
No. This is that's when he was taking over one of the provinces.
The AI picture. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was great. This is a small town of 1,300. It's on the border of Minnesota, and it violated the town violated the Ontario Human Rights Code by refusing to proclaim the entire month of June as Pride Month. In other words, the province, they don't have states, they call them provinces, in Canada had declared June Pride Month. And Emo, Ontario, goes, nah, we don't want to have Pride Month in Emo. And so the flags that they were obligated to fly, the gay pride flags, that were supposed to be flown for a month, they didn't want to do it. So they got on their official flagpole that has the flag of Ontario and Canada. So they got a $10,000 fine, this little town. And everybody in government has to go to mandatory human rights training,
Oh my goodness.
and they have to draft a proclamation containing clauses such as, quote, pride is necessary to show community support and belonging for LGBTQ2 individuals, and to show the diversity of sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, representing a positive contribution to society. The demand that they do all of this was turned down later at a council meeting, and the mayor, and this guy asked a very reasonable question. The mayor of Imo said, I don't understand it because, quote, there's no flag being flown for the other side of the coin. There's no flags being flown for straight people. That line was deemed offensive by the Human Rights Council, and they wanted a $15,000 fine. And they had to go to this school to learn how to be gay pride-ish, I guess.
More inclusive.
Canada's gone nuts, man.
Yeah, well, you know, that's
so it's like the state of Texas, for example, that would tell the city of Austin, it's Gay Pride Year, and we need the LGBTQ2 flag flying above the state of Texas flag and the U.S. flag, and anyone that opposes us is going to mandatory LGBTQ2 training. And if you don't go, it's a $10,000 fine per council member. That's what happened to Imo, Canada. Is that just nuts to you?
it really is. You're forcing people to go along with your beliefs because it is a religious cult. Religious cult, and they're forcing people, we're going to fine you because you don't want to participate. That's ridiculous. You know what, Barry? You know, you made me think about, did I ever tell you about my dream? I got these stories, don't I? and really quick, I had this vivid dream, and it always stuck with me, that in this dream, the military was going door to door to people's homes. And they were telling people, look, you either come outside and we're going to haul you off to a camp, or you can participate in the gay pride parade that's going down the street. This is a dream that I'm having. And I'm
it sounds like the town of Imo.
You know, and that's what you just made me think about it. It's like this, what in the world? So they said, look, you have a choice. So some people said, okay, they just went and got in the parade and start walking. And the other people that said, no, I can't do it. It goes against my belief. And they were taking them and putting them on trucks and hauling them off. And it's just mind blowing that that could actually become reality. And your story, what you just shared, made me think about that 100%. Right now, they're fining people, right? Forcing them to go to training and fining them.
Correct.
What comes next when they don't get the memo? What comes next?
You mean when you don't pay the fine after going to mandatory class?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What comes next? And you're still not wanting to fly the flag. You're still not wanting to participate in the cult. What happens next?
I don't know. It's not happy. And
it's like they say that they want a peaceful transfer of power, Barry. And then nothing about them has been peaceful. Nothing.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks, brother, whether or not that indeed happens. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta love this guy. Years ago, I interviewed him 2 or 3 times. I'm referring to Trump's new pick as senior director for counterterrorism. That's Dr. Sebastian Gorka, super smart guy, born in Hungary, like my parents. Really, really, really appreciates a free country. He's made several statements lately in favor of Israel, saying that there's never been a state of Palestine. It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. He said IDF generals should forget about diplomacy and focus on defeating the terrorists militarily. And he's right. And he was on RT, which is Russian television, and the interviewer said, "Why don't you talk about the genocide in Gaza?" And Dr. Gorka said, "Because there isn't any genocide in Gaza. There's no such thing as Palestine." And then he added the etymology of the word Palestine is a name invented by the Roman Empire to insult the Jews 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
And then he said, well, the interviewer said, well, the rest of the world disagrees with you. And he says, well, I'm glad you talk for the rest of the world. And he talks about how the United Nations, blah, blah, blah. And he said, you want to know why I don't listen to the United Nations? Because it's a clown show, really. As far as I'm concerned, the United Nations ought to be pushed into the Hudson.
Yep.
I love him.
Yep. I so agree.
He goes, what have they done to solve anything of late except create child prostitution rackets in Africa? UN troops and officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, Sri Lanka, and Haiti have been accused of hundreds of cases of sexual abuse, including against minors, over the past 20 years. We should destroy every jihadi. That's what we ought to be doing. And we ought to be doing it with Israel. He said, I've seen the video, the unedited 47-minute video of what the Hamas did to men, women, and children on October 7th. The massacre needs to be seen. I mean, this guy has some serious backbone. I can't wait for him to take office and assert the truth on America and the rest of the world. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap up today with something sent to me by United America First, courtesy of Will Johnson, which is a fabulous, unbelievable, truly, and I mean this literally, unbelievable video. Before I do, I want to remind our viewers, please go type in fineberry.com, in your browser. It'll take you right to American Truth Project. You can sign up for free. You can be one of the people that accepts our daily updates. It's all for free. And if you want to give a donation, we would appreciate that. Keeps us on the air. United America First is where you go for Will Johnson. Okay, got that out of the way. Let me mention what Will sent over. I cannot believe this video. It is shocking. Nancy Pelosi, a couple of years ago, thank you, Will, for finding this, had a press conference to explain how the Democrats smear people. Now, the reason why this is relevant is President Trump has a whole slew of appointments right now that are going through the confirmation process, the interviews, and so on. One guy's already been knocked out. Matt Gaetz has been knocked out and for Attorney General, and no specific charges were ever brought, but it's part of the smear campaign. Now they're going after Pete Hegseth, the Defense Department Secretary. Now, this is a guy that's been in the military 20 years. He's decorated, highly, highly educated. I mean, he's brilliant. And they're talking about unnamed sources who said he did things that were horrible. And it reminds me so much, I don't know about you, of the confirmation hearings when Trump was president the last time, and they destroyed the reputation of several very, very prominent justices that ended up being confirmed, but their reputations were just destroyed.
Yep. Brett
And
Kavanaugh.
all the charges, and Amy Coney Barrett, the charges later turned out to be false.
Yep.
And the stories were recanted by the people that made the accusations. But it was already out on MSNBC, and they were demonstrating against putting rapists on the Supreme Court and worse. So that's the introduction. Nancy Pelosi had a press conference where she talks about how we do smear campaigns. And now her plan seems so far to be working against Pete Hegseth. It was victorious against Matt Gaetz. It's going full throttle against Tulsi Gabbard. Here's what she talks about. It's incredible that this is actually a video that's still out there.
you demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made.
Wow. I'm still in shock. I've watched it 4 times since you guys sent it to me. Thanks again. I can't believe she said this in public. Here's how we're going to destroy the opposition.
Yeah.
And then she proceeds to tell you how they're going to destroy the opposition.
Yeah, we put it out there, and then they get it, and they'll spread it around. Then it comes back to us, we'll validate it. And it's a smear campaign, a smear tactic. I mean, just out there. When I first saw that, I'm like, she's actually saying this. You know why? Because they feel emboldened. They feel so empowered. They are above the law. Because, see, they're the lawmakers. See, no one is above the law except for the lawmakers. And since we make the laws, then we're above the law. So we can do whatever we want. And the smear campaign, that's what made me look at that video again, is because of what they're doing, like you just mentioned. I didn't even think about Tulsi Gabbard when I sent it to you. Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Pam Bundy. They haven't really said anything.
They're going after Pam Bundy now. Maybe the most famous AG in the history of Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
She's bad news.
Yeah, they're going after every single person. They're going after everybody that they can under President Trump's cabinet select. They're going after everybody. It's the smear campaign that they're doing. And it's not even true. And there's reports about, Pete Hegseth, where all of these anonymous people coming out saying that he did XYZ. Not a single person is actually coming forward and say, yes, he did it. But everybody for years that he's had contact with, worked with, had a cup of coffee with, all of them are saying that's not true. That's not him. But they don't want to talk to them. They want to keep pushing out the smear campaign.
I find it stunningly egregious for Nancy to say this in public with a big smile on her face as her teeth are sort of clicking around in her mouth and she's had a couple of martinis maybe to get her fortitude up. But the truth is, Will, this is disgusting.
It really is. And they don't want to talk about her drinking problem. They don't talk about her drinking problem, but Pete, oh my goodness, he has a drinking problem.
Well, yeah, and as a result, I actually saw this last night. 2 senators, Republicans, have said that they told Pete Hegseth they'd back him, but he's got to promise not to drink anymore because the rumors are flying around that he has a drinking problem. So that must be humiliating for him to have to say, okay, if I'm appointed and confirmed as defense secretary, I promise I won't drink anymore.
I mean, he can't even go to a bar and celebrate anything. Come New Year's, he can't even have a glass of champagne on New Year's, Barry. This is ridiculous. Nope. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And you know who's testified against him? Oh yeah. Nobody.
Yeah.
They're unnamed sources, Will.
Yeah.
Unnamed.
Yes.
But they're sources. But they're unnamed. I mean, it literally could be your kid or just completely made up. It doesn't matter. And it's literally in the news.
All right, Nancy Pelosi, smear campaign. Just put it out there, let it go around, let it hit the cycle, and then come back and we'll just say it's true.
100%.
Yep.
100%. It's going to be very, very interesting. We've got, let's see, a month and 2 weeks to Inauguration Day. Stick around, buddy. It's going to get wild. And in a month, start the confirmations for all the appointments. And the Senate will be sworn in, and the Electoral College will have been confirmed. Woo-hoo! Popcorn time. It ain't going to be boring till the end of January. That's for darn sure.
I'm just anticipating the first, they always talk about the first 100 days, after January 20th. I want to see what the first 100 hours look like. I'm serious. The first 100 hours, they're going to be something else.
Oh, you mean when Trump declares his dictatorship
on January 20th?
Yeah, when Trump takes over and becomes dictator for life.
Yeah.
Just like he was last time,
Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Remember, findberry.com. Go sign up. We want you on our mailing list. Doesn't cost you anything. Will, thank you so much. Great show. Lots to cover. And I think next week, as we get closer, as you said, to the new year and inauguration, it's just going to get crazier and crazier. But that's what we're here for.
Yep.
See you all soon. Next week time.